So, we have to next go for an analysis for accelerating reference frames. So, we will use certain nomenclature. We will consider an axis, say capital X, capital Y, capital Z for an inertial reference frame, and small x, small y, small z reference frame as an arbitrary, it may be inertial, may be non inertial, but it is a moving reference frame. If it is moving with an acceleration, then it is non inertial. If it is moving with a uniform velocity, it is still inertial. What we are interested to find out is that if we have a vector, say A here in this reference frame, and let us say that this reference frame is moving with an arbitrary angular velocity omega, then what is the derivative of this vector with respect to the inertial reference frame? Can you show it if I ask you to show it? How do you show it? Say you have a vector A which is there in a reference frame that is rotating with an angular velocity omega. Let us say that the angular velocity is such that the rotation is taking place in the plane of the board. The rotation will take place in some plane. What is that plane? The plane is perpendicular to the axis of rotation. It might not be xy plane or yz plane like that, but it is some plane. So, in that plane this vector A is rotating. So, when it is rotating, it comes to what state? It comes to a new location, say this is at time t, it is at time t plus delta t. What we are keeping in mind? We are keeping in mind this is a fixed vector in a moving reference frame. So, this is a fixed vector in x, y, z, that we have to keep in mind. It is not any arbitrary vector. That means, if you are sitting on this, you do not see any change in the, at least in the length, and if you are outside, although it is same in length, but because the reference frame is rotating, this also rotates. Let us say that it traverses an angle delta theta over this time delta t. So, what is the change in the vector? The change in the vector is this delta A, right. So, what is this delta A? For small delta t, the delta theta is small. So, this is just like an arc of a circle. So, delta A in terms of magnitude is what? A delta theta. In terms of a vector, you have to give it a proper direction and sense. So, if let us say that this is A is in a direction of E1, then it should be a direction which is normal to E1, say E2. If you want to find out what is dA dt, if we are not mentioning any subscript capital X, Y, Z, that means we are talking about inertial, then it is basically we are dividing this by delta t and taking the limit as delta t tends to 0. So, A E2 into limit as delta t tends to 0 delta theta by delta t, which is nothing but the magnitude of the angular velocity. And what is omega cross A? Omega is, what is the omega vector? It is omega scalar times a unit vector E3 which is perpendicular to the plane of the board. So, you may take E1 like x, E2 like y and E3 like z, just like that. this cross A is A E1. So, it is omega A E2. E1, E2, E3 form orthogonal basis just like x I j k. So, you can write that dA dt capital X y z is equal to omega cross A, but this is only for a vector A which is fixed in the small x y z reference frame. If it is moving in a small x y z reference frame, then that velocity also has to be added with this. So, in general for an arbitrary vector A in capital X in small x y z, you have dA dt capital X y z is equal to dA dt small x y z plus omega cross A. So, this change is felt even if A is fixed, but if A is moving relative to small x y z, this is an additional change. So, that is the total change, and this you know from your earlier studies that this is known as Chesel's theorem. So, we will take up from this and try to write an equation of linear momentum conservation for a control volume which is having arbitrary motion. It may have angular motion, it may have linear motion, it may be a non accelerating reference, it may be a accelerating reference frame in general. The result that we saw that if you have two reference frames, one is capital X Y z, another reference frame is small x y z, where small x y z may be having an arbitrary motion in terms of an angular velocity, in terms of a linear velocity which may even vary with time and so on. So, if you have the vector A which is there in the small x y z reference frame, the derivative of that with respect to the capital X y z which is like a stationary reference frame is this plus omega cross A. Clearly, if this small x y z reference frame is having no omega, then the derivatives are identical. Now, what we will do is we will try to utilize this to figure out that what happens with respect to the velocities and accelerations of fluid elements located in a control volume because of the movement of the control volume. So, now we are going to consider that the control volume is not stationary, it is moving, and when we say that the control volume is moving, let us say that we consider the control volume to be such that small x y z is attached to the control volume. So, the way in which the control volume moves, small x y z motion represents that. So, small x y z motion has two important aspects, one is the translatory motion, another is the rotational motion. So, the translatory motion is like if you have the origin of the small x y z as this one, then if you have the position vector, say let us call it r naught, the rate of change of this r naught with respect to time gives the translatory velocity of the small x y z reference frame. On the top of that, small x y z reference frame is having a rotational velocity in general. There may be special cases when rotational velocity is not there. Now, if you consider say a point in the control volume, let us say a point P, this point in general represents a point where the fluid has a velocity, acceleration and so on. So, it is a point in the flow field. So, this point in terms of its position vector is described by this position vector which we say call as capital R. But if we are trying to analyze everything with respect to the small xyz reference frame, for us the important quantity or the important vector is the position vector of the point P relative to the origin of the small xyz reference frame, and let us say that is small r. So, capital R is the position vector of the same point P relative to capital xyz origin and small r with respect to small xyz origin. So, directly from vector addition we can write capital R is equal to R naught plus small r. Okay. Now, what we will do in the next step is we will try to find out the velocity. So, the velocity at the of the point P in an absolute sense is dr dt, that is d capital R dt with respect to capital xyz. This is the velocity with respect to capital xyz. Okay. So, this is just in a shorthand notation, we may not always write d dt, but write a dot on the top to indicate that it is a time derivative. So, this is r naught dot plus it is d dt of small r relative to capital xyz. d dt of small r relative to capital xyz is d dt of small r relative to small xyz plus omega cross small r from this theorem. So, that means this is as good as r dot small xyz plus omega cross r, right. So, if you try to figure out that what are the implications of these different terms, let us just try to understand. This is nothing but the velocity of the control volume. The control volume is having a translational velocity, this is the translational velocity of the control volume, because this is the time rate of change of position vector of the origin of the control volume, of the origin of the reference frame describing the control volume. And this is what? This is the velocity as visualized from the reference frame small xyz, and this is of course omega cross r. So, these two terms together may be sort of thought of as a relative velocity. So, this is the absolute velocity, this is the velocity of the control volume, this is the velocity relative to the control volume, like that. So, the relative velocity has one component because of the translation, another component because of the rotation. And if we want to find out the acceleration, acceleration is what is the sole important quantity for us, because by that we can relate with the Newton's second law of motion. So, acceleration with respect to small capital xyz, that means you have to differentiate this again with respect to time. So, this is so let us write different, let us identify the different terms and write the first term, it will become r naught double dot, right. Next r dot small xyz, just substitute that with a in this expression. So, the ddt of this one is what we are looking for. So, what is ddt of this one? That is ddt of r dot small xyz plus omega cross r dot small xyz, right. That is for the second term. For the third term, again the same formula we can apply, capital A replaced by omega cross r. So that will be d dt of omega cross r relative to small xyz plus omega cross r. Okay. So next stage is just the simplification and collection of the relevant terms. So the first term r naught double dot plus r small xyz double dot plus you have omega cross r dot, but let us simplify another term before writing that. Let us simplify this one. This you can differentiate just as if it is like a product rule, but maintaining the order, because for the cross product the order is important. So it is omega dot cross r small xyz plus omega cross r dot small xyz, just like the product rule. So if you collect now omega cross r dot small xyz and this omega cross r dot small xyz, so it will become 2 omega cross r dot small xyz then you have omega dot cross r small xyz plus omega cross r. So if we just give the interpretation as we did for the velocity for the different terms, what is r naught double dot? It is the acceleration of the control volume, linear acceleration. So this is the acceleration of the control volume. Then what is r double dot relative to small xyz? This is the acceleration of the particle under consideration relative to the control volume. And then if you consider these two terms, these are angular acceleration sort of, that is if you have an angular acceleration effect. So this is not directly angular acceleration effect, but because of the time rate of change of the even a fixed vector because of the angular motion within the element. So if you have even a fixed vector, because of the rotation, that vector is getting changed with respect to time, and this is directly because of the angular acceleration of the reference frame. So these are directly as a consequence of the angular motion of the control volume. So the angular velocity and angular acceleration, these are direct consequences of the linear, this is the direct consequence of the linear acceleration of the control volume. This is because of the linear acceleration of the particle relative to the control volume, and this is a combination of the linear and angular motion effect. So as you all know, this is called the Coriolis component of acceleration. So where from this Coriolis component of acceleration comes? So if you have a reference frame that rotates and relative to that reference frame something translates, so the combination of that gives rise to an acceleration. So the two things which are necessary for this, one is the reference frame should be a rotating reference frame, another thing is that there should be a translatory motion relative to the reference frame, and then it will experience a sort of acceleration, and that acceleration will try to deflect the particle from its original locus, and it is very common in particle mechanics, also in fluid mechanics. Just think about ocean currents. So, earth is like a rotating object, and on the top of the and over the earth the ocean currents are moving. So, you have the water moving in the sea with a particular velocity on the top of a reference frame which is rotating, and that is why, and the rotational sense is different at different places. So, you will see that there will be a certain deflection of the ocean current in the northern hemisphere and in the southern hemisphere. These things you have studied in junior classes of geography, but these are very important examples of the implications of Coriolis effects in fluid mechanics. Now, what we can do is we can just write it in a bit of a more compact way. We can write that so this term we will write as A small xyz, and all the remaining terms like this we know this is like A Coriolis, and this is the angular velocity effect, angular velocity and angular acceleration effect. So, we will just write A capital XYZ as if is equal to A small xyz plus, let us give the all other terms a name A relative. This is just a name that we are giving. So, in the A relative we have A control volume plus 2 omega cross V xy small xyz plus omega dot cross r small xyz plus omega cross r. R is again small xyz. So, you can clearly see that this type of, this is basically a transformation from a reference frame which is stationary to a arbitrarily moving reference frame, and when you do that the transformation terms appear in the form of the quantities which you are visualizing relative to the moving reference frame, because when you are writing your equations of motion relative to the moving reference frame, all quantities you are measuring relative to the moving reference frame. So, the position vector, the velocity vector, all those things you are measuring. So, you can clearly see that when the transformation is made, in the right hand side everything is written relative to small xyz. So, small xyz has become your reference. Now, how will this be important in the context of use of the Reynolds transport theorem? Let us try to go back to that. Let us say that we are interested to write the Reynolds transport theorem for linear momentum conservation. So, Reynolds transport theorem applied for linear momentum conservation. Let us say that we are interested to write the theorem relative to this control volume. This green colored contour is the surface, control surface of the control volume, and that is our basis for which we are writing the theorem. So, let us first write the general theorem dN dt system we recall that capital N is the quantity that we are interested to conserve. It may be a scalar, it may be a vector. Small n is capital N per unit mass, and this eta is the unit vector normal to the area, that elemental area that is considered for writing the area flux term. Now one important thing is that we have no restriction on the choice of this capital N and small n, that is we are not restricted to write this only as quantities relative to an inertial reference frame. We may even write this relative to quantities in a non-inertial reference frame, because when we derived this theorem we never had any consideration for a specific inertial or non-inertial choice of the reference frame. So we can as well write say capital N as say m into V small xyz as an example. Nothing restricts us from doing that, because it is just some quantity that we were looking for. It may be linear momentum relative to any reference frame. So when we write that, left hand side becomes d dt of m let us complete first write the right hand side, and then we will see that whether the way in which we have written the left hand side is the proper way or not. We have to keep in mind that this V relative is nothing but V small xyz, that is the velocity of the fluid relative to the control volume. So this is V small xyz dot. Now let us devote our concentration on the left hand side. When you look into the left hand side, see when we write this, what is the assumption? The assumption is that the entire system is having the velocity V small xyz relative to the small xyz, but that is how we have written, that is with the mass into this one, because this is the total linear momentum of the system. So total linear momentum of the system, if we write that as mass of the system times this velocity, that means we are implicitly assuming that the entire mass of the system is having this velocity, which is not correct, because fluid is a deformable medium, and in general you can have different velocities at different points. So it is not appropriate to write it in this way, but write it as an integral form of like integral of dm V small xyz over the system. The reason is quite clear that at different points in the system it might have a different velocity. So when you want to represent the total linear momentum, physically we are representing the total linear momentum, the linear momentum consideration should keep in mind that there could be different velocities at different points in the system. And then we may write this as dm as, how do we replace dm in terms of the elemental volume? So this is the rho into an elemental volume dV. Okay. Next step, so if we put the ddt outside, then you have the ddt also. Next step, can we put the ddt inside? Yes or no? We have discussed about these things earlier. See, what is the variable with respect to which integration is done? Volume. So if that volume is not a function of time, then we may put it inside the integral without requiring to put any correction terms. So we are assuming that it is a non-deformable control volume. So with a non-deformable control volume, we may write it as integral of say rho V small xyz ddt of this one dV. See, this assumption is not a very restricted assumption, because for most of the problems that we are considering this it is not so common to have a control volume which is arbitrarily accelerating plus deforming. But I can give you a nice example. If you are fascinated with mechanics, try with this example. Say you have a balloon, in the balloon you fill it up with water, just throw it with a spin and make the water come out of that, and try to figure out how the velocity of the water coming out is changing with time. So, you require everything: a deformable control volume, arbitrarily accelerating, because the balloon, when the water is coming out, the balloon might be having arbitrary rotation and arbitrary linear motion, and in an elementary level, I mean this problem experimentally one can do, but theoretically I would say it is one of the very tough problems in mechanics, which will require the combination of the understanding of the fluid mechanics and solid mechanics and deformable control volume, arbitrarily accelerating control volume. It will test your understanding of mechanics to the best of abilities. Let us not go into that complication here. So, we assume that this is what we are writing. Next step is that we will assume that rho is not changing with time. So, if rho is not changing with time, we will just write this as integral of rho d dt of v small x y z dv. The other thing is that, see, magically we were as if we transformed it from the system to the control volume. That we will not do immediately, but we should keep in mind that when we are writing it in a limiting sense, that is we are dividing it by delta t, and in the limit as delta t tends to 0, we can write it in the limiting sense tending to a control volume, because in the limit as delta t tends to 0, system tends to control volume. That is what we have experienced earlier, but that we will do in a bit of a later stage. Till now we will preserve it as a system sense. Why? The next step will be giving you a clue of why we are trying to do that. So, in the next step what we will do, we will write the left hand side simplification. This is again system. We have to keep in mind that what are the assumptions that we made. So, you have the rho, and what is d dt of v small x y z? This is the acceleration small x y z, what is appearing here. So, this is rho acceleration small x y z dv system. What is our trouble? The trouble is that when we are having acceleration relative to small x y z, we cannot directly apply the Newton's second law of motion for that, because Newton's second law of motion is valid for an inertial reference frame. Small x y z, in a special case when it is moving with a uniform linear velocity, is still an inertial reference frame, but in a general case not. So, to address the generality, we have to keep in mind that we need to first transform it to capital X y z, so that for that we can use the Newton's second law of motion. So, we will write this as integral of rho, in place of a small x y z we will write a capital X y z minus a relative. Okay. So, when you take this integral of rho a capital X y z dv for the system and minus then what are the implications of these two terms? The implications are very straightforward. The first term represents the mass into acceleration of the system as an effect, the integrated, the total effect mass into acceleration of the system as viewed from an inertial reference frame. So, by Newton's second law of motion, this you can write as resultant force acting on the system. And since we consider the limit as delta t tends to 0, this is as good as resultant force on the control volume. And again in that same limit, you have in that limit this also the system tends to control volume, keeping in mind the limit that we are considering for these time derivatives, that automatically implies that the delta t is tending to 0. So, what is the final form of the equation that we are getting? Let us write it in the final form. So, the final form is, the left hand side becomes what? The left hand side becomes resultant force acting on the control volume minus, let us say, integral of rho dV, you can say as dm, elemental mass. So, that is just like here also. So, it is like integral of A relative dm is equal to the right hand side, whatever is there. So, if you just look into it from a user viewpoint or a formula user viewpoint, what is the correction that has occurred because of the transformation? The correction has occurred mainly with one important thing, that you have this correction term, and this correction term is because of the acceleration of the control volume, because if you see all the terms are related to acceleration, this is directly related to acceleration of the control volume. This, wherever there is angular velocity, you expect that it is related to that. So, angular velocity, angular acceleration, and again angular velocity. So, these are all related to the nature of an accelerating reference frame. So, if the reference frame is not of accelerating nature, then, or if the reference frame is not having an angular velocity also, because having an angular velocity automatically makes it of accelerating nature, at least the last term is important. So, when none of these terms are important, then this will be 0, we will see when, and in the right hand side you see that nothing great has happened, we have replaced in all the terms the absolute velocity by the relative velocity. So, when you are writing the Reynolds transport theorem for linear momentum conservation, then basically all the absolute velocities are replaced with the relative velocities. This was anyway always relative velocity, but the other terms, these are now replaced by absolute velocity, relative velocity, and in the left hand side there is a correction because of the non-inertial effect of the reference frame, just like minus mass into acceleration. This is just like a pseudo force.